How are we? Happy days. Happy Saturday. It's Saturday. We're back. This is officially stream number 3, I guess, here on this channel. On today's episode, today's channel, we're going to be making another pin. We had talked about it before, but I think we're finally ready. We're doing the stabilized mango pin that we started the other day. We're going to be working on this one today. I think so. We glued our tubes in. We've trimmed it. Might have to sand when we're done. It looks like the tube's sticking out just a bit. Sometimes when you use the barrel trimmer, the metal part of the tube still sticks out just a hair. So let's get these bushings on here and get it ready to turn, and we'll throw her on the lathe. We're going to throw a couple of these. Let's see, which end do I want to be? We'll do that as the tip, so the bigger one. Do it like that. Is that far enough out? It is. Too much. We need to take one of these out. Alright, I think we are about to throw her on the lathe though. Let's hop over there and let's see if we're ready. So bring it down just a hair. So one of the things with turning on here, whatever tool you're using, right? I believe I was using this roughing gouge. You want the tool, the tip of your tool, to pretty much hit your center line. So I'm still actually just a hair up. But you get the best results when you're right about on center line. I like to be, for these types of things, to catch it here. If you're up too high, you're going to catch it on the tip. If you're down too low, it's going to potentially pull it under. We're getting our face shield. Whenever I do the first roughing especially, I wear the face shield just in case. I don't want it to blow up on me and shoot me in the eye. Once it's fully rounded and it's a piece of wood that I don't really see catching, it's not as big of a deal. But until then, I wear my face shield. So as Sasaki is aware, turn that wood, there you go. Don't see enough of that on Twitch. Bro, you gotta be safe, man. You only have one set of eyes in your life, you know? But as Sasaki is aware, when it's stabilized like this, you can kind of see the sheen to it right now. That's actually the resin. So when the resin has cured, it makes basically a plastic. Okay, it turns it into a glass-like plastic. And so it makes the wood actually more dense, okay, because it's filled all that pores with air, with resin, you've cured it. But so it tends to be a little smoother, but it's more brittle in a way. When you're actually turning corners like this, it can snap off sometimes a little bit easier. Once you've made it mostly round, it's definitely more stable, okay? So like once I've taken off those big sharp edges, it tends to be way more stable than if it was standard wood, because wood can chip out a lot easier. Once it's stabilized, it's more solid, but you can catch one of these brittle edges still before you get to that point and chip off a big chip. So we try and be a little bit safer on the cuts, a little bit slower until we've made it round. Once we've made it round, we can really start putting some turn into it. Another cool thing, when I have it turned like this, once I get down to that label, you can see the label spinning right now. You see the white label. Once I'm down to fully round, I'll actually be making that label go away. And that's how I know I'm kind of in round as well. Because I'll be going deeper than that face that has the label on it. And again, once I get close to an edge, I'm going to flip and go the other direction. Because going the other direction will keep it from chipping out a lot easier. So I'm going to catch it here, just shave off those little bits, and try and bring it around. See how the label's gone now? Of course I know it's round. You can still see the label here, and I haven't even touched that. So that has the very sharp edges that you can still see. That's the part you wouldn't ever want your hand to hit. And so I always keep my hand this side of my tool rest, so that way I'm clear. And my tool rest always hits here. If you kept it off, it could catch and flip it up. So always keep the pressure here, and you never want to overextend too much. So this is the same style of pen as we did the last time, okay? So actually, since I have this pen, I'll bring it over and I'll show you. It'll probably help. So I have it set up kind of the same way, right? So what we're looking at here, let me take this off for a second. So what we're looking at here is the back end of the pen is going to be here. That's the width we're matching, the diameter. That's going to be our middle diameter. Of course, it will be closer together, but it's set separately here so that you can actually get your edges better. And then the tip's going to be this edge. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to bring it down to the tip, which will be slim. These middle parts will still be the thickest parts of the pen. And then up here, it's still going to be slimmer than the middle, but it's not as small as the tip. All right, so what we've done, we've set the middle here to the right diameter. It's flush right up against it because, again, this is my thickest spot. And so I'm going to work downhill from the thickest spot to make sure it's a smooth line is the goal. I need to be a tad lower. If you notice, I'm still kind of on the top hill of it. So I need it to be a little bit lower. We're getting close. So that's about all we're going to do on that half. We're going to flip over to the front half here in a second. Yeah, you can see some of the curl here. You see those dark lines? That's some of the curl in the wood. There we go. So what this is now, pasta, this guy. So what it is now, we have the bulk of the waste removed, right? This is the main shape. So if you see, there's still some lines here running this way. If you see lines running that way, the straight lines, that's tool marks. So there's stuff here from the tool marks that's still showing. Now, because we're going to sand, okay, hopefully most of those are about to be taken away. If any of them are too deep, either direction, like if there's too many big ridges or something, we can break the tools back out, but we're going to try it just by sanding now. You don't want to get too low, and then when you sand, you're sanding it down beyond, so we want to kind of keep it about at the right distance already. And then we're going to come in here with a sanding paper. So you see how the dark line is still there? Hopefully you can see it. Yep. That dark line was a low spot from the tools, okay? But what we're going to do is by sanding it, it's going to straighten out all that and make it smooth across. Whereas if we kept trying to get it straight just with the tools, knowing that we're going to sand, we would have sanded past really where we wanted to be. And we don't want to do that. So now you can kind of see how it's smooth. Somewhat a lot cleaner than what it was otherwise. All right, we're going to need a bit more. I want to get the main roughness, the main shape. We're sanding to the main shape before we switch down to a lower grit. You can see I'm taking out all those dark lines. So all the main tool lines are going away. I'll switch to this because it does get pretty hot, as you can imagine. Again, we're spinning at 1,440 RPMs currently. So you can only hold your finger on it for so long before it starts to burn. Hey, thank you so much for the follow, man. All right, here we are. We're right there at it. That feels smooth at all our junctions. So again, this doesn't have a ton of color. This wood, it's going to be somewhat of that orange-ish color. It's not as colorful as the blue pin we turned last time, but we're starting to take shape. Zambia, thank you so much for that follow, though. I greatly appreciate it. As always, guys, I appreciate them as always, but they're never required. Enjoy. Well, don't hold your finger on it. Look. Sometimes you have to, all right? The one thing you'll learn is, like, the more you do it, just a light touch, I can feel the imperfections a lot easier than even seeing it sometimes. So when I'm looking at it, if it's spinning or if it's even holding still, I can feel it before I can see it most times. That's why you'll see me just feel my hand around it. At this point, it's perfectly round. I'm not grabbing onto it super hard. I'm holding it just light enough where I'm feeling if there's anything that sticks out, okay? Of course, you wouldn't want to do that if it's like very rough wood. You'd get a splinter pretty darn quick. So this is just to make sure we're still headed the right direction. If we ever get to the spot of where it feels rough or something feels off, we'll go back and either work the grits the other direction, or worst case I've had to do before is, like I said, we bring out the tools. And we can do some other things, like if you remember, if you saw how big the one tool was, right? So this is roughly a roughing gouge. When I'm turning spindles like this, I can use. But I mean, we have some very detailed gouges too, if we needed to. Luckily, we shouldn't need to. All right. I think we need about one more. As you see that it's starting to like get in the finer grits, it starts to take its normal color a little better. And you'll really see it once we put the water to it here in a moment with some wet sanding. But again, we have to change bushings before we do that. I forgot to get more water, so we're a little low on this one. Uh-oh. What did I tell y'all? I was going to switch my bearings and I didn't. One second. My bushings, excuse me. So here's why. If it's stabilized, it's not as bad, okay? So that's something to note. But if you don't change your bushings and use water, water will react with the metal and the wood, okay? Meaning, what will happen is it will actually discolor the wood pretty heavily. Sometimes it'll soak up kind of an oxide, like some rust oxide type stuff, up into the wood. And nobody wants that because it does look quite terrible. So we're going to go ahead and switch to our CA bushings. These are plastic bushings, and they are here to make sure once we put on the CA finish, the super glue doesn't stick to them. Because I can tell you, if you don't, good luck getting those metal bushings off, you know. Quite the pain. These just make life a lot easier. So not saying it's impossible, but it's a lot nicer. Don't forget to change the bushings. Well, guess who forgot? So you'll start to see the normal color. Again, this isn't going to be as bright of a color. It's stabilized and it's curly. So the thing we're looking for on this wood is more about the figure, or the design, the texture, the grain of the actual wood more than the color. So again, I typically wet sand through these first 3 before I start to put my CA finish on. Hopefully you can see some of that really cool curl, the curliness in the actual wood. Got a lot of texture. So it's a very light brown. I'm going to turn over here so you can kind of turn through it and see it. All that there, is that just how the wood is? Yeah, so that's what they call it, curly, but all that wavy grain is part of the actual wood. And that's the color. This one's not dyed at all. It's stabilized because anytime you see wood grain like this that's wild, and by wild I don't mean either straight grain or something that's very curly or something different, seems like it'd be a pain in the ass to split. Exactly. And plus, it's more prone to be fractured, right? So that's why they stabilize it, so it makes it more stable when you're doing this type of stuff. All right. Let's get the CA glue. There went my other piece of paper. I'm gonna turn this fan off for a second. I don't want my papers flying all over the place while I'm trying to put CA glue on. Flip it this way. The other thing is, this CA glue, you know, don't be breathing it, guys. Never want to be too close while you're breathing it. So this is about what it's going to look like, okay? Of course, as you know, we're going to have more, let me get out of that light. We're going to have more layers on it. And we will make it shinier. But this is about what this pen's going to end up being. So again, I'm going to do one more layer here. Then I'm going to come in and sand it a bit, right? After we sand it a bit, we're then going to come back and put on some more layers after it dries. Then we'll finish sand it and get it out of here. Get it put together. So what I'm doing now when I'm sanding these, it's taking out all of the high and low spots in the imperfections. It's also sanding through some of the CA, right? So knowingly, we're sanding off some of the finish we just put on. But what it does is it levels it out. It builds a better base for us to continue building the next layers on top of. If we didn't do this, what would happen is you would have so many little imperfections pop up. You would have so many little dings and nibs, I call them, from like the CA glue. And then what you'll find is it'll get so smooth, so polished, and we'll continue to build. We're going to build more layers on top of it. And again, I put this board here just to keep the bed ways clean. You don't want to get water on them or they'll rust. It's cast iron. Hey, thank you so much for the follow. And again, guys, there's no certain amount of layers to do. It's just more, you know, more feeling, more when you know, when it feels right, when it looks right, when it's starting to build up enough of a layer of where it's feeling protected. Because the whole goal of this finish is to protect the wood. You build up enough of a finish because, again, when it dries, it's like a plastic. It protects the wood from the grease on your hands, the sweat, whatever it is that you get on it. It will protect it so it'll always stay looking that way and form that barrier. If you didn't, I could polish the wood and let it stay as just wood, and it will feel more like wood, but then as you use it, it's going to wear out, right? It's gonna wear in, I guess you could say. It'll start to turn colors, right, on the places you hold it. Things of that nature. So I'm going to get another paper towel. I'll try my best not to hit it on the microphone this time. These are just blue shop towels. They're a little bit more strong, I guess you could say, than a standard paper towel. There's all different ways you can put this on. I just find tearing up these little strips of paper towel, you use it on just for a bit, you rub on just that one bit, and you're done. Of course, it takes twice as much paper towel as doing a two-piece like this, because I don't like rubbing it there, then lifting and moving, because it'll start to dry out because it cures so fast. If I'm doing a single tube pin, like a long tube, I can just use one piece for that whole piece, but not for these. I typically use two separate ones. We're getting close though. Maybe 2 more layers. We'll do one more, because I can't stop sometimes. Last one. And then we'll let it dry just for a minute, and then we'll start polishing it up, guys. I'm going to go back. I'm going to start with 10 and work my way up these, what is it, 6? I don't go all the way back. I don't go to the roughest ones. So I'm pretty much starting at 3200. Is where we'll start at. Let that dry just a minute more. Then we'll be ready. Getting close, guys. 2 more. This one will be the tip. Checking it. I think it looks good. All right. Get all these parts out of here. Make sure I have everything. We got the tip, we got that bit. Got our twist mechanism. Get all these little baggies open. It puts every part, they put it in its own little separate baggie to make sure it doesn't scratch anything or get dinged up, you know. All right. Let's see here. What way do we want it to turn towards? Probably put that down. All these are press fit in. So I use a vise to press them. They make different kinds of things that you can put on. Like I could get something for the lathe. You can get a different type of pin vise that's specifically for them. I find this little pipe clamp that I've put some covers on, some padding, works just as well, if not better. All right, we're half there, top half done. And if you just watch it for the alignment, make sure it lines up. So this twist mechanism goes in last. Part that I need to move it out just a bit for. All right. All right, guys. I think y'all had a good call on this. It's sharp. Very sharp looking. Quite different. We're going to take these back over to the lathe so you can see them. Here she is. That gunmetal looks awesome. It looks so nice. Thank you. Thank you. Pretty sweet. Yeah, this one turned out pretty nice. I'm happy with it. And so again, the way these twist pins are, so if you wanted to align bits of it, right, like you could turn it to where the grain lines up a little better. I'm trying to turn it in different angles so you can actually see the shimmer of it. That's it. Curly Mango has some cool grain. Yeah, for sure. But that's it, guys. That is the Gunmetal Curly Mango on a Gunmetal trim line twist pin. So it is a ballpoint pin. You see it still has the actual nib on it. It has not been used. And it'll stay that way. And then there is both of them. So stream number 1, well, it was technically stream 2, but we're calling this stream 1. The first pin we made on stream is the blue one. That one is up right now on the shop. We will be putting this one up here momentarily, probably here in just a bit. But other than that, guys, that's it. We've made it. We finished the pin as intended. It didn't blow up on us. This is 2 good streams in a row. We're excited. Unlike the first one where we didn't even make it through. We still have the half. We still have the half here, which is sad, but it was a good one. But all right, guys, till next time, I appreciate you all. Thank you so much, and we'll see you then. Have a good one.